Whether you're a seasoned vet of the payments industry or a brand new rookie who just heard the term dual pricing for the first time, you're in the right place. This is the only podcast that shares the strategies and stories behind selling merchant services, all from the perspective of those on the front lines. Welcome to Agent First.
Hello, everyone, and this is a special introduction for a special episode of the Agent First podcast. This is our last podcast ever done with John Skelly. I thought I'd kind of kick it off with a funny story about John, probably my favorite story about John. John and I loved baseball together. He had the same love for baseball as I did. Loved the strategy of it all, the pageantry of it all, just everything about it. And I was fortunate enough to go to a baseball game with John last year. It was the final spring training game, and we were at the Arizona Diamondbacks. And if you know John loves sweets. There were never sweets that John would pass up. Whether he chugged Mountain Dew like crazy, loved candy bars, everything. And he was so excited. Matter of fact, we have an amazing picture of him. The first game where they'd offered what they called I don't know if it's the first game, but it was the first game we had been to where we had gotten to experience the churro dog at the Diamondback Stadium, which was literally a donut, like a Long John donut split in half with a churro in the middle of it, and then covered with like ice cream toppings on top of it. And this amazing picture of John holding that just before he devoured it down. Unfortunately, not long after that game, John passed away on April 18th, 2024. And this is his final episode. Please enjoy.
Hey, welcome back to Agent First. I'm John. He's Justin.
Welcome.
I say that every time, but it, kind of gets it through.
Women do jump in mid, like episode 7, and they don't know who we are. You want to introduce ourselves?
That's true. Yeah, we're two different people. Just in case you were wondering. Yeah, there's two of us. Even though our names start with the same letter.
Yeah.
But, so today, here's what I was thinking. And this is something I've heard you talk about in the past. I'd love for you to talk about after you sell an account, right? So
yes.
You've got into a merchant, you've had however many conversations, right? Sometimes maybe it's one, sometimes it's a lot more than one.
Right.
But you've kind of done the hard yards of getting the yes, doing the application, navigating underwriting, the deal is live. Yes. I'd love for you to talk about kind of what are the next things you do with that merchant. And I know what a couple of them are.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mention them, I'll navigate you through the neighborhood to the houses I'm thinking of. But just because I think there are some, and maybe talk about your own and if you've seen other people do ones that are a little bit different. But that kind of post-sale, and I don't mean if something goes sideways or troubleshooting or whatever, but that kind of post-sale relationship, so that it becomes a relationship. It isn't just transactional, but it starts to build into something more than that. What are the first couple things you do after a deal is done and live and installed and going?
Right. I love this topic, so this is awesome. So and as always, for everybody listening, I have no idea what John's going to ask me every time. So these are always surprises, but I love this one. So I think this is a critical aspect, especially, in most sales environments, you get a commission and you're down the road, right? It doesn't really matter. You sell a car, you're down the road, it doesn't really matter. Now, if you're smart, you maintain a relationship with your customers, if you want to get the referrals, you want to get the repeat business, but your income isn't necessarily reliant upon it. In our industry, it's reliant upon it. You're getting commissions, residuals every single month. You not only want to keep that merchant happy, but you want them referring other people to you. You don't want them leaving because the next guy walks in the door and says, "Oh, I'll save you $20 a month," right? Or I've got a shiny new machine I'm going to give you. You want them thinking there's value in that relationship. You want to provide real value. Yeah. So I think this is a big part of it, and I think it can result in making your life as a salesperson so much easier. Also, just do it. Sure. So what I always did, and what I coach everyone, what I coach everyone to do as well, and I think those that do this well, have a lot of success with it, is it starts when the deal is installed. You're there, everything's up and running. Okay, we're seeing transactions. We've tested it out. You got your deposit the next day. Awesome.
is that time now I go ahead and schedule a follow-up appointment with them. First off, that already feels weird for the merchant. Like, you want to come back? You're a sales guy.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, I really want to. I want to come back when I know the first month's statement has been created. So for me, like, let's say it's the middle of February, right? And I know that, okay, we're going to have a partial month of February, full month is going to be March. So let's talk about the first week of April or so. I'm going to come in. I'm going to bring in the statement. I'm already going to print it off. And I'm going to show you that we did what I promised you we were going to do. We eliminated this fee. We got you this price. We did your dual pricing or whatever it might be. And then we're going to talk through. Have you, I know we had an issue a couple weeks ago with the deposit. That all got rectified, right? Yep, absolutely. I know you called into our 800 number for service. Everyone was taking care of that. Oh, they were great. It was awesome. Talked with Beth. She was a killer. Okay, cool, awesome. That's great to hear. And then now, first off, that already feels different. If it already feels like you care, you sure shit should. I'm not sure I was supposed to say that, but I did. You sure should. And you really should care about them, right? And so you're going in there and you're showing them you care. You're showing them you truly care about their experience, right? And now it's time to start asking for referrals. That's the key part. Many people ask for referrals at the time of the sale or the time of the install, but I don't feel like you've really proven yourself yet. I don't feel like you've earned the right to ask for that.
Right.
But if you do it in a really comfortable way, and some people feel like this is uncomfortable, I don't think it is if you do it at this time.
Yeah.
It's hey, don't forget, by the way, that I work on 100% commission, and I'm always trying to meet new people. I think I gave you a good experience. I was referred to you by Joe at the automotive shop. Is there anyone around here you think, you can refer me to? Now, if you stop there, a lot of times you're going to get I can't think of anybody, but if I do, I'll definitely call you.
Sure.
Because the ask is so kind of, broad.
Yeah.
So instead, what I like to do is I would ask that question. If they kind of stumble, I'd say, well, what about the bagel shop at the end of the strip mall? Do you know them? And I kind of have some preloaded ones that I thought they probably would know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Randy owns that. They look out the window. His Jeep's there right now. Randy's down there. You should go down and tell him, remember, I'll just give him a call for you. Or you ask him, hey, can you give him a call for you so you can make a nice introduction? They then feel connected with you. There's a connection of, hey, you solved my problems. You did what you said you were going to do, and taking care of that. And then, that I think is the first step. And that really, if you do that well, and this is where I've talked about before, is that first 6 months to a year of kind of doing those hard yards, you now have built a really nice, solid group of business owners that you've shown I'm different. I actually care. I actually answer my phone when you call. I actually stop in and check on you. I came back and showed you that we did what we said we were going to do, which is an oddity for salespeople, right? In and of itself. Now I've got this group of people that want their other friends to have that same experience. You sometimes have to remind them who their friends are,
yes,
because it is such a broad question,
yeah,
right? So it's the bagel shop at the end of the street, things like that. So now I've done that, but I don't think it should end there. It should end with supporting those businesses that support you. Your money every month, the money you're feeding your family with, the money that you're paying your bills with, is coming from your collective group of portfolio, your business in your portfolio.
Yeah.
You should be doing everything you can to support them back. It's the dry cleaners, it's the bagel shop, it's the auto repair place, it's the restaurant, it's the barber, it's the dentist. Those are the people that you should be supporting and continue to create that relationship. And it doesn't mean you got to go to every single one every day, but if you can be supporting them on a regular basis, stop into these places on a regular basis, again, feels like you're different. You're now the next guy that comes in. Maybe he's got an amazing offer and he's going to save them thousands and thousands of dollars. But you know what? You're a customer,
right?
And they're probably not going anywhere,
Yeah.
right? So it's deeper than just I'm here to make a sale. There's a relationship building process here. There's I'm going to support you. Hopefully you reciprocally are going to support me, and it's really that kind of symbiotic sort of thing. Now I could go. There's one that I think is really funny, that a guy that was very, very successful in this industry. I remember talking to him about what he did. He got a lot of referrals, And he actually did it in a different way where he had on his application that he charged this huge annual fee. And he would tell them, hey, I'll waive this annual fee, but the only way I can waive this is in exchange you have to give me I have to close like 5 businesses or 3 businesses from you. And I don't remember the exact number, but if I do that, then I'll waive this fee. Otherwise, I have to charge it. It's your decision. And he said he would get tons of referrals that way. That's not my style. Like, that's a little skeezy. But like, that's people will help you out if obviously they think there's something in it for them. So that's another angle to do.
Yeah.
But for me, I had a thing that I called the 555s when I was selling, and this kind of played into that. And these were 3 things that I did 5 times a week. And one of those 3 things was visiting my existing businesses. So it might be dropping off the dry cleaning in the morning and just saying hi to Joe. It might be stopping and having a networking lunch, but making sure I went to one of my customers and they saw me. It might be, ordering pizza from somewhere and making sure that, hey, Jody heard it was for me, or stopping and make sure Jody saw me, so they knew that it was us, supporting their business. That, I think, if you want to be the go-to person in your neighborhood, you want to be known as the person that supports that neighborhood, that community, it's important to support those businesses in your community. And if you do that, they're going to support you back, because at the end of the day, you're an important member of their business community too.
Yeah. Were there any, did you do holiday check-ins or anything like that, or communication to your portfolio? Maybe it was somebody that wasn't where you lived, or wasn't somebody that you would normally be a customer of. Did you have other things that you would do to try and keep that relationship warm?
Yeah, there for a while I did some regular, like almost like a I don't know how to describe. I don't know the exact word for it, but it was like a little video update.
Okay.
So I would do, and it was irregular, but I did it as a way to just try to stay communicated with my customers, and it was just me standing in front of my laptop, press record and just talking, and sometimes I would talk about things about credit card processing. Sometimes talk about things in just business industry, talk about topics. I sold to a lot of restaurants, so I talk about maybe things like the tip tax credit or stuff like that, things I thought might be applicable to them. I was very involved with the restaurant association, so we get little tidbits and stuff like that. That was a great way to stay connected with people. It was another value you brought to them as well. I didn't necessarily do anything around like holidays, but I do know somebody who's very successful in this industry that did that literally between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that was all he did. And he had a huge portfolio, like 500-600. He probably still does. I'm sure. I'm talking like past that. Yeah. I'm sure he still does. He's a very successful guy. And Richard is his name. Richard would go out and he would see every single customer of his, make sure he took them just hand delivered Christmas card, just a way to stay connected with them. There was a deeper connection there. And that was very successful. It was a very big part of his process. Yeah. For me, and I think any person who genuinely cares about that business owner, for me, it was always about, this was not just a customer. This was, to me, like a family member. I looked at these business owners. I come from a long line of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs. I looked at this like, you're my aunt, you're my uncle, you're my cousin, sure. You're another piece of my family. Excuse me. And to me, I truly cared about that person's success. It's not some disingenuous thing. Let me get a commission and see you later. I'm here to take advantage of it. Yeah. Truly, like, how can I help? And so to me, most of my customers, and I think this is true of a lot of salespeople in our industry, they become friends. We had some customers that to this day, like, we still watch their kids sometimes. Literally, they come to our house and they start out as customers of ours, Yeah. And so it's just friendships get built through that because there's that genuine connection if you're doing it right.
Yeah. So I have to think. The idea of once you become a customer of mine, right? Once you're one of my merchants, then I become a customer of yours. And that's part of the way that the relationship deepens.
Absolutely.
Does it ever happen in reverse, where you start as a customer of a merchant that maybe wasn't interested in talking, or didn't think they needed to switch, but you build the relationship as kind of as somebody that's just around, and then it turns into a kind of a business relationship.
The vast majority of our sales start that way,
Okay.
right? Yeah, and it becomes very, some people do it in a targeted way. Some people it's just more of a large scale way of doing things. But, my family learned from early on in this industry, me entering this industry, that we never eat it. We don't go out to eat at chains. We don't dine at chains. We don't, obviously shopping's different. There's sometimes it's hard to do that, but our dry cleaner's going to be a locally owned place. Our dentist's going to be a locally owned place. The food we're going to go eat, we're not going to the national chains. We're going to the local pizzeria, right? And it was always a way to try to connect with those business owners, right? And my dad, who's been in the industry a long time too, one of his favorite things to do, he loved doing this, and still does to this day, is meals over, and he'll ask for the manager. Now the manager automatically thinks like something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So he comes over armed with like, oh boy, I gotta settle this guy down. And then my dad would say like, hey, I just gave him this card, just said, hey, I had a wonderful meal here, love eating here. Jeannie, our server, was awesome. Just want to introduce myself. I like doing business with people that do business with me. I'd love to see if we can chat. And usually in that moment, they're sitting there with a customer that just dropped a couple $100 on dinner. There's a lot more likely to say, yeah, sure, man, I'll meet with you. So I think that's a great way to do it. I tended to do it, and most of the people do it in a more casual approach. Like,
Sure.
I'm there, I'm around, you kind of get to know the person, and yeah, absolutely. I remember a customer of mine, one of my favorite customers back in the day, Kara from Being There Coffee, and now she's got a new coffee shop she's opened up, New Day, I think it's called. But she was one that I would just go in there and get coffee. We started becoming friends, and then it kind of became like my hangout spot to do work because it was just 10 minutes from my house. Yeah. I'd hang out there. She became a customer, and it'd be funny sometimes she would have a merchant services person like stop in while I was there and try to sell her, and she would say, "Oh, I actually don't make any decisions. That's my business partner over there. You should go talk to him." So I'd sit there and talk with another merchant services sales guy and hear his pitch about trying to sell his merchant services. But, it became this friendship, this deeper friendship that started off as, hey, I'm just a customer here. Our very first customer at Pay Compass, customer number one, Yoda Pros, amazing, car repair place that focused on just Toyotas. It's really Yoda Pros. Was a place that we all took our cars to get fixed. We have Toyotas in our family, and we always took them there, and it was just a natural extension to do business with us. Yeah, for sure.
I think this is good because I remember early on at Heartland, as we were starting to come up with some ways that merchants could, or that agents could kind of reach back out to merchants, and there were definitely some agents that were worried about, if they're happy, I'm not sure I want to talk to them, right? This almost fear of...
Leave the sleeping dog alone.
There's this landmine that's waiting for me, and if I show my face, it's going to explode. Yeah. And I have to think it's not nearly as frequent, and maybe it's a rare, if ever, occurrence. But at least that was a fear that I heard people verbalize, like on a fairly consistent basis.
I as well. I've heard that many, many times, and I think that if that's the case, then you're not doing business the right way. Okay. I mean, if you're scared to go talk to your customers, then there's something you're hiding behind. There's something that you're not with the right partner. You're not working at the right place. You're not doing business right. You're promising things that aren't going to come true. Yeah. There's something off in your process, in your relationship, that it just doesn't make sense if you're having to do that. I mean, you should be able to walk in your customer at any time. You should, the analogy I use regularly is, if you're walking down the grocery store aisle and you turn the corner and you see your customer, you shouldn't be like, "Oop, I better go down the next aisle." Right. You should be able to go right down there and say, "Hey, Jody, it's been forever," and blah, blah, blah. There should not be that need to hide. If you're doing that, then you're likely not going to have that customer for very long.
Right. And I think that, sometimes when you've got, maybe when you're in a little bit of a, I don't want to say a dry spell, but you've got that time that you're like, man, I'm not sure what I should be doing today, right? I don't have any warm leads. I don't have any appointments set. This is a great thing to do, right? It's just pick 5 or 10 or 15 or spend a week doing it or whatever and just stop in and see folks.
Right.
Because I think, to your point, I think it that alone makes you different than some sales professionals, because it wasn't this transactional that they're never going to see you again.
Right.
And it's not a bad time to ask for referrals or to point out other places and things like that.
Yeah, if there was a day where I had nothing scheduled, if I'm in sales in this industry and I had nothing going on, I mean, if it's today, now, in this day and age, I would be going and talking to every customer I have that's not on dual pricing, surcharging, whatever method of this you sell, and going and talking to them about converting, because you're talking about taking existing customers and potentially tripling or quadrupling your profit. So best use of your time, right there. And obviously, once you have that customer on that program, you're not going to lose them for price, because it's the price of zero now, right? So that is one of the best, not only retention tools, but obviously ways to increase your income. But if all your customers are there, you've gone through that, or if you're talking about like back in the day when I was selling, absolutely, going and talking to your customers, spend an entire day, an entire week, whatever. The amount of opportunities, the amount of referrals that you could potentially get from that is absolutely massive. And again, remember that there's probably additional products and tools and solutions that you offer that you've never talked to them about. Yeah. Maybe it's payroll, maybe it's gift cards, maybe it's a point of sale, maybe it's the online ordering. There's lots of things that you probably have that you've never talked to them about that you might be able to help them with as well.
That's a great point, because I think again, they're going to have merchant services people in constantly.
Right.
And they're going to mention products that maybe didn't come up the first time that you sold the deal, or something that wasn't on their radar when they started. And you would hope that if they've got a question about gift cards, that they're reaching out to you. But it does give you an opportunity to say, hey, is there anything else that that you've been thinking about or looking at, or somebody's asked you about? And especially if you're selling in a situation where you've got a vast number of solutions available to you, right? I know we've talked about that. I don't want to beat a dead horse at that, but if you're selling someplace that you've got one product or one variation on products to sell, those conversations aren't nearly as interesting.
Lord. I mean, there's there's an old saying out there. My very first vice president of sales, Dean Saffris, used to say it all the time, that merchants want one throat to choke. Yeah. And as a business owner myself and a growing business, I definitely can understand that, and I can see that why businesses want that, is that I don't want to have to manage 100 different relationships. If I can get multiple solutions from one relationship that I really trust, that I really connect with, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that, because now I got one person to call for all my, let's say, insurance needs. Instead of me having to go different places, I got my E&O insurance over here, I got my liability here, I got my workers' comp over here, I got my health insurance over here. Gosh, I can go to one place and really that's a trusted source. Maybe it's even a little more expensive. I really don't care, because I've got that one person I can rely upon, that they understand my business. And that's true, I think, in our industry as well. And you're seeing it in why do we have now such interconnected products like let's say Clover or Toast or Square, because people don't want to have to make a separate decision on technology and processing and gift cards and online ordering and all this sort of stuff. Let me have one solution that does that. I think it's a valuable lesson for us all to learn, especially us kind of the people, the veterans of this industry that are used to, hey, I was just sold credit card processing. Right. They chose their point of sale differently, and we just mirrored the two together. People are looking for that one solution. The less decisions they have to make, the less people they have to try to meet with. Yeah, maybe your processing's better, maybe your point of sale's better, maybe your gift card's better. But at the end of the day, really what they want is, I call one person, or I go on one website, and I made a series of choices that solve a whole litany of things around my list I needed to solve, and I have one company to rely upon for that. So I think that's a huge, huge thing in our industry, that people are waking up to that. But if you're not, you need to, because those days are here where they're looking for that one relationship for those solutions.
Right. Yep. So I feel like if this were a family podcast, we would tell people to go call their mom. Instead, what we're saying is, hey, go call a merchant, right?
Absolutely.
Or better yet, stop in and see them.
Stop in and see them.
Right?
Absolutely.
They probably are going to be excited, and even if it does nothing but build a relationship, that's still a great way to spend 20 minutes.
And, and there's a whole other discussion topic here is it doesn't always have to be the owner. Get to know everybody working there, because you know who's going to start the next restaurant down the street? The guy who's the bartender.
Yeah.
And the person who knows you, the more people that know you, the more people understand what you do, that you're a good person. It's not all about the owner. You should be treating everybody under the same level of importance and the same level of respect, because someday they might be taking over. Someday they might be leaving, starting their own new place. Most new restaurants, most new businesses are started by somebody that left one where they kind of got trained, right?
Yeah.
So stay connected with everybody, become that resource for everybody in that establishment.
That's a fantastic point. All right, we're going to end it on there. I appreciate it, Dustin.
Always, thanks much.
Thanks.